Sunday, May 20th, 2018. This is a live stream here, Maneco 64 and Billy. Um, I'm waiting now for people to come on. There's no one on. I'm going to be talking about the Draconian state, big government, and how it's a sign that they need your money, that they're bankrupt, and that they'll do anything to try to get your money from the individual, of course. So I'll also answer any questions anyone wants to ask about relevant subjects, the markets, precious metals, cryptocurrencies. So we got a few people on now, 19 people. Busy Mountain, hi, Busy Mountain, nice to see you. Random Stuff, good afternoon, chap. Good afternoon, Random Stuff. Yeah, it's just past 2:30 London. It's a beautiful day in England. I don't think there's a better place in the world when their weather is nice, as nice as it is here. I played golf this morning. We teed off just after 8:15. It was foggy and a bit cold, but by the time we finished, it was really sunny and nice. Had a nice golf round. APT, morning, Mario. Morning, APT. Helen, greetings from Singapore. Hi, Helen. Nice to see people from Singapore from all over. Hi, James Wonker. Good morning. Mutar. It's morning here in the States. Yeah. Random Stuff. Will Trump mess with the city of London? I don't know. Some people actually think that there's three cities that run the world. The city of London, they do the finance. The District of Columbia, they run the defense or the wars. And the Vatican, they're supposed to run how can I say, the spiritual part of it. Or some people even think they run everything. They are in charge of the other two. JMC Carp 98, hello from Taiwan. Well, nice to see you, JMC Carp. Hope everything's well in Taiwan. David Toper, same weather here in Milwaukee. Yeah, it's really nice here. It's not very hot and humid. There's a bit of a breeze, so really nice. Busy Mountain, crypto's effect on governments. Yeah, I mean, hopefully cryptos will be a way to get away from big government. Peace, extended clips, peace. James Wonker, Vatican, London, and Switzerland. Well, Switzerland, I think is yeah. I think the Vatican, they use their guards are from Switzerland. Some people argue that the Knights Templars, a lot of them went to Switzerland as well. So there's a big connection there. The money, Vatican, District of Columbia, City of London. I don't know. I don't know if Trump is bigger than these guys. Crypto's effects on government, please. Yeah, Busy Mountain. I think hopefully it will take away the power of governments. It will allow individuals anywhere in the world, irrespective of their nationality or where they are, to deal freely. I hope that is the case. I don't think governments go well in hand with cryptos, because cryptos are supposed to decentralize everything, make everything honest and trustless, and governments usually don't do that. APT, Mario, what do you think about the spike in COMEX claims? 524 apparently. Yeah, I saw that headline from Greg Hunter. The thing about the COMEX, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, it's very leveraged, but to every short, there's a long as well. So, but one thing about COMEX, I read that a lot of the commercials have been short covering, so that might be a good sign. Who knows what the real price of gold is? The physical price of gold is. It's higher, but so is everything else in the markets. It's highly leveraged and hypothecated. Neil Reynolds, afternoon from sunny Cheltenham. Yeah, it's really sunny here. I'm near you, not on the other side of London, but it's really nice. I just took Billy out for a walk. Not a long one, but Shih Tzus, the heat affects them, so he's a bit tired now. Barry Knapp, good morning from North Carolina. Wow, nice. A rise in interest rates impact on gold and silver ratio. Well, yeah, I think the gold and silver ratio is near the top. I think we were above 80 recently, and now it's coming off. And the tendency, in my opinion, is for silver to outperform, so the ratio should come off. James Wonker, where is the Bank for International Settlements located? Yeah, and by the way, James, I'm not being pedantic, but it's the Bank for International Settlements, not of international settlements. Well, it was founded in 1930 by an international treaty at The Hague, and it's located in Basel, Switzerland. Basel, geographically, I lived in Switzerland, so I know I've been to Basel, like to play golf. And actually, the Basel Golf Club is in France. So Basel is right on the border between France and Germany. So it's a perfect location for the Bank for International Settlements. The thing is, it's physically located in Basel, but it's uh, it's like a sovereign government. It's like the Vatican. It's above the law. No one can touch the directors of that bank. So that's what it is in Switzerland, but technically it's not. It's a sovereign. I think they even have a seat at the United Nations, the Bank for International Settlements. Um, Random stuff. Swiss all have access to nuclear shelters. Yeah, random stuff. I mean, I lived in Switzerland before. My family has been going there for a while. My dad had a place there. I don't think the new properties anymore in Switzerland, you need to build the bomb shelters. But I remember, yeah, you look all the places there, all the chalets, and they have bomb shelters, and the doors are this thick in Switzerland. Richard McCorkindale, everyone should pull as much cash out of their accounts as they can and start a bank run and force a system reset. I agree. The other thing people should do, if they can, is to buy physical gold and silver to force, yeah, to stop the paper game. I know it's, yeah, they're bigger. Yeah, if a lot of people did that, that's like taking cash out of the system as well. Um, are all the commodities manipulated like gold? I guess to some extent they are. Oil, maybe. It's difficult to say, but I think all the markets are manipulated. My dad, for example, he died years ago, but he was a businessman, a shipbroker. He did well, but he never put any money in the stock market. And I always used to ask him, why not? And he said, well, because it's all rigged. And that was 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I think he was right. You just got to know how to play the game. Thoughts on gold-backed crypto? Digi, Digix, Deo. Uh, yeah, it is the thing about gold. It's you really ultimately it should be have no counterparty risk. Unfortunately, being a digital backed crypto, it will have some counterparty risk because someone else will be holding that gold and you have to trust them. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you, as you're so knowledgeable, James Wonker. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I always love reading, and I also listen to other people on YouTube, and you know, I learn from reading other people and listening to other people. Random stuff. It's a nightmare getting through customs at Basel. I've never really, when I lived in Switzerland, I never had to really go through customs there. But I remember playing golf at the Basel Golf Club, which is just over the border in France. It was pretty much open the border. You just drove through, played, and came back. Do you see extended clips? Do you see a debt jubilee coming, Dr. Maneko? I'm not a doctor, but you can call me that if you want. Debt jubilee, yeah, they can do that through a reset. That would be uh, like devaluing all the fiat currencies against gold and silver. I think that would be kind of like a debt jubilee. I don't think the bankers are going to forgive people with mortgages, unfortunately, but maybe they'll make the debt more manageable. I can't say. But at the same time, you have to say bankers love debt because they make money from that. But it gets to a point, if the debt is too big and too enormous, it's better to do a jubilee and start from scratch again and start the game again. The problem is, I think it would take ages. It would take many years for people to get comfortable about borrowing again. Maybe it's difficult to say. I personally try to not be in debt as much as possible. Todd, oh, I pulled $25,000 US, and it took over an hour to get it. Several forms had to be filled out. They were not happy at the bank, and yet my money weird times. I agree, Todd. Yeah, they make it really hard for you to get your money out. And the reason I'm talking about big government today, I got an email from one of the viewers, from Yvonne Nutter, and she read something about a new law that's come into power in the UK, and it's pretty worrying. It's called the Unexplained Wealth Order, and it took effect on the, let's see, um, 31st of January 2018. So, unexplained wealth order, that basically means that if the government in the UK thinks you have money, they see that you have a lot of assets, they could come and try to confiscate that from you. The reason for them passing this law, uh, they talk about like corrupt politicians from abroad coming, money laundering, that they're able to confiscate that wealth that can't be explained. But I believe me, they can use that to take an average person's wealth as well, and that's not a good thing because the UK, the rule of law, common law in the UK and in the US is that you're uh, innocent until proven guilty. And now that the government has the power with this unexplained wealth order to basically take your money because they think you have too much money and you can't explain it. Of course, they say it's just for criminals, but they can always do things to apply it for other people. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about is the passport. Why do we have passports? That's another draconian thing because you look at the history of passports. It says here on Wikipedia, a rapid expansion of railway infrastructure and wealth in Europe, uh, beginning in the mid 19th century, led to large increases in the volume of international travel and a consequent unique dilution of the passport system for approximately 30 years prior to World War One. So basically, prior to World War One, people were traveling around the world in Europe and North America, South America, without passports. Uh, but then passports were something that were used more in times of war. But World War One was an excuse to impose these draconian controls by big government. And nowadays, you can't move to another country or travel without a passport. All I'm trying to say, it's creeps up. The government creeps and creeps, and they always use the excuse of war. And this unexplained wealth order, it seems really innocent right now. You can say, oh, you don't have to worry about it if you've got nothing to hide, if you're not a criminal or a terrorist, you've got nothing to worry about. But that's the same thing they probably said about passports. So it is worrying. Random stuff. Didn't the Hunt brothers ship their silver to Zurich? Yes, they did. Yeah, they shipped a lot of silver to Zurich. There's also a story that there were other parties involved in the silver buying. I even read something that the Shah of Iran was involved in buying silver, physical silver, and that the Hunt brothers actually wanted Texas to declare independence, and they're going to use silver as money in Texas, and that Iran was going to do the same thing. And this was right around 1978, 1979. And look what happened to the Shah of Iran. He was deposed in a coup that was probably orchestrated by the West, because they were challenging the Federal Reserve. So that's a really interesting question, because when we talk about silver, and the Hunt brothers, we don't talk about other things. But I've read, I think it was Lindsey Williams who spoke to Jonathan May. He was involved in this. And yeah, I think John Connolly was involved. A lot of Texans were involved. And they're going to use silver to back a Texas currency. And the Iranians were doing the same thing, the Shah of Iran. So yeah, is that true? It could be. JM Carp 98. It's getting much more difficult to immigrate unless you're funded by Soros. Gregor Kovacs, when new wallpaper, sir? Well, Gregor, if you have my wife likes the wallpaper. We moved here 3 years ago. It's a William Morris wallpaper. You probably don't know William Morris. It's very expensive. If you want new ones, maybe you can pay for it. It would be over £1,000 to get new ones and to change it. And I've had questions about the wallpaper, but I've kept it. I don't see the problem. It's my home. If you don't like it, too bad. Nuno Simões, he's talking Portuguese. It's a pleasure to hear from you. A breath of fresh air in the highly corrupt system. And hello from Portugal. Hi, Nuno. Yeah, Nuno, my grandfather on my mom's side, he was Portuguese. So yeah, in Brazil, we have a lot of people of Portuguese descent. On my dad's side, my granddad and great-grandfather were Italian. Nice to hear from you in Portugal. Patrick J. Great pity this unexplained wealth law was not in place when the robber barons stole everything from the common people. Well, the thing is, it's the robber barons that probably write the laws. So the thing is, right now, the other thing I want to talk about, people talk about, cryptos need to be regulated because it's too Wild West. But I think that doesn't make sense, because the regulators, they're all corrupt. The SEC in the US, the FCA in the UK, the Serious Fraud Office, because if they were really doing their job, the first people they go after would be the central banks, because they print money out of thin air, and which is a fraudulent activity. So yeah, so that's how I view it. This video, this live stream might be censored, but we need to talk about how things are, don't we? Extended clips. Do you think wealth distribution law is a liaison towards universal basic income? Yeah, I think this wealth distribution or collectivism is just a way to enslave the majority of people, to never let them, be self-reliant, independent, to make the state always the most powerful institution instead of the family. Who does it help? I think it helps the elite, because they have ways around it, and it helps, I guess, people who don't want to do anything. But universal basic income, I think, is a really bad idea. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. People need to produce things. People, yeah, I think it won't work. Patrick J. loved the wallpaper, so some people do like the wallpaper. David Shin, why is Gold Money's market cap only 200 million? Not profitable? Is that a pro bono operation? Do you have an account there? I have an account with Gold Money. I had the account even before it became public. It was just James Turk running it. I don't have too much in it. I prefer physical. Toto, hi from Michigan. Can you elaborate on the relationship between 10-year and what happens when the rate goes above 3%? Well, all it means is that a lot of loans, like corporate loans, mortgages, um, and other, let's say, government loans for other countries are priced off the 10-year yield, which is right now it closed around 306 last week. And the reason why the 3% is important is because technically a break above that level, it doesn't mean to say it is for certain, but a break above that level breaks a trend that we've had since 1981 of lower yields, lower highs and lower lows in yields. The last big high was beginning of 2014 at 3%. So the fact that we've broken above 306 now is 3%, and we're at 306. I think we got to 313 on Thursday. It's very important. What it will do, it will just make credit more and more expensive. And as you know, in the last 10 years, uh, after the collapse of '08, the central bankers and governments have thrown everything at the system. And that means they've lumbered the whole system with more and more debt. And if the cost of servicing that debt starts going up, it's not a good cocktail. Um, let's see. CDI Mantu. What are the most free countries in the world? I'd love to leave the US, but I'm a gun owner. Well, yeah, I would probably say the poorest countries in the world are probably the freest because their governments are not as efficient as in the developed world. Where probably in Africa, some South American countries, uh, if you've got the money, you can get, they'll leave you alone. In Europe, um, yeah, there isn't really that much freedom unless you have a lot of money and you can go to the offshore tax havens. Then you're okay. But it's hard to say. Um, Richard, Calvin Cooper, do you think that if the Dutch bank fails, so will crypto? Do you mean Deutsche Bank? I'm not sure what you mean by Dutch. Um, Not sure if Deutsche Bank is going to be allowed to fail. It's the biggest bank in Germany, and Germany is a really important country, but you never know. But I don't know if cryptos will fail just because I don't think so. Parlando, 90% of people don't produce actually. We deliver services to each other. That's true. We've become such a I was thinking about that the other day, Parlando. We've become such a specialized society, uh, and we're told that it's better than being a subsistent farmer, for example, 150 years ago or more. But you kind of wonder if things break down, how we're all going to cope. And I agree with you. And we're all part of this system. Yeah, I'm delivering a service here by talking to you. I'm actually not producing anything. And you're right. Sammy, the poor do not have any more to be taxed. The solution would be taxing the richest increase by 20%. Sammy, I agree with you. The poor don't have any more. Uh, but personally, I think tax is a bad thing for the rich or the poor. What I think we need is small government, small bureaucracies. Uh, we need to stop the wars, the welfare, and people always say, "Well, there's death and taxes are certainties." Yeah, death is a certainty, but I don't think taxes have to be a certainty. I'm also against taxing the very wealthy, and of course, they've benefited from the corrupt fiat money system, but I don't think it's the solution to tax people. I think the solution is self, people being reliant, self-reliant, small government, and producing things. French fry, money is phony. UBI is just another means to keep the corruption going. What's UBI, French fry? I'm not sure what that is. S. Walker, the British pound won't be so good, at least the dollar, the reserve. Patrick J. I have gold and silver held in Singapore and Hong Kong allocated accounts as I'm concerned for its security if held at home, etc. Good idea. Yeah, I think Singapore and Hong Kong are safe places. I don't know where you are, Patrick. If there were to be a world war, would you really be able to get that gold from there? You might have to wait a few years. But I can understand the safety part. Nuno asks, Europe is becoming an open air prison. Yeah, I know. I mean, you look at France, I think their government spending is more than 50% of GDP. And it's really unfortunate because Europe is still such a nice place. But we just need to cut back the socialism and the philosophy that we can depend on the government for our livelihood. I think it just doesn't make sense. It's the way I tell people sometimes is like when you have children, you want them to be independent and go out in life and do their own thing. Why would you want them to, once they become adults, to be dependent on the state? It doesn't make sense. You want them not to be dependent on you, but how? And it doesn't make sense. It's I don't get it either, Nuno. Oh, universal basic income, UBI. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. It's just a vote getter, UBI. I read that the Italian coalition is thinking hard. As one of their big platforms is to have a universal basic income. It's just silly. It creates more and more misery because people will not go to work and they'll just depend on, instead of going to work and maybe earning more, they're going to be satisfied with this UBI. Look what the welfare state and big government has given to Europe in the last 50 years. A lot of debt, a lot of unemployment, and high taxes. And the random stuff, taxing the rich would just mean they hand down those taxes. Yeah, and the other thing the rich do really well is they protect their wealth really well from taxes. They can use trusts. Trusts are a big way to protect their wealth. Ignacy, how do you see the Catalan conflict? Yeah, I guess you guys had the referendum. Was it last year? And it didn't go through. And I think from looking at Spain, it looks that like Catalonia is a wealthy region, and all they want is their independence, because I'm sure the central government in Madrid is sucking a lot of wealth out of Catalonia, and I understand that. Hopefully, they'll be able to one day get away from Madrid. The same thing happens in Brazil, for example. I think in the 30s, São Paulo, which is the richest state in Brazil, they try to get away from Brazil. Patrick J, thanks, Mario. Great vlog and live stream. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, random stuff. Yeah, UBI did fail in Finland. I agree. I saw that. Sato forces prevail. Finland tried UBI for 2 years and had to end it. Yeah. Yeah, UBI is like giving your teenage son or daughter, like, giving them weekly money, and then once they and telling them, oh, you don't have to find a job, we'll just keep giving you money for as long as you live. How do you think those kids are going to end up? That's what UBI is. Bon après-midi, Mario. Bon après-midi, Jane. A bit of French. Uh, Yvonne Nutter, Finland didn't even complete the second year. It was abandoned. Yes, Yvonne, and thanks for that heads up about that unexplained wealth order. That is true, actually. It's for real. And Yvonne, the excuse they give right now, it's that it's just for criminals, for like important politicians around the world, central bankers, to make sure that they don't become corrupt, so that the government can take illicit funds from them. But I think it's a slippery slope. They will eventually probably apply that to everyone. And why is that? Because governments in the West, especially, are so indebted that they need money from people. They need money from anything. I mean, you see, they even have a sugar tax now in the UK. Even the Coca-Cola and all the drinks, they've gone up in price for that. I know they're not good for you, but cigarettes, it's like 90% tax in the UK. They keep taxing and taxing because, uh, yeah, that's what they do best. Lee Jenkins, do you think if we printed non-interest bearing money, we we would all be better off? Yes, that the problem with that, Lee, is that who decides, how much we're going to print and who we're going to allocate it to? I guess you'd have to have very honest politicians. Um, I prefer the market deciding. I know the bankers don't like it, of course, because it's non-interest bearing. I think it would be better than now, but it's not ideal. I guess Abraham Lincoln did that with the greenbacks, and he wanted to keep doing that. And I think we know what happened to him in World War One in the UK. It's called the Bradbury Pound. I think a Treasury official, instead of borrowing money to fund World War One, the Treasury started printing money, interest-free money. But that was, the bankers told that was like nipped in the bud, the Bradbury pound. There's a lot of people who talk about the Bradbury pound. Yeah, I think it's better than what we have now. Interest, you know, uh, money where we have to pay interest, but it's still giving power to a few people to decide to control the money. I personally think the market is the best determinant of what money should be and the price of money. Um, Mark Walsh, Monaco, do you see yourself remaining in England? Well, that's a good question because I've been in here since 1992. And I came because of I have Brazilian and Italian passport. I came with my Italian passport as it's a EU passport. I got married a year or so after I got here. My wife is British. My daughter's British. My daughter's got British, Italian, and Brazilian. But now I'm not too sure with this Brexit what's going to happen, if I'm going to be just allowed to stay here. So my wife and I have debated maybe going even to Brazil, the south of Brazil, which is a really nice. I have a cousin who lives in Santa Catarina, which is like a very nice place in Brazil. But don't know. Uh, I still like living in England. It's still a nice place, but you never know. Seven Sevens, is the Fed owned by Rothschild? Uh, I think the Fed is owned by several. We don't really know. I think the Rothschilds do have some kind of indirect control of the Fed. um, the big banks, yeah, JP Morgan, even the European banks. And we don't really know who's behind the big European banks. It could be the black nobility, as they say, the people that go back to Roman times in the Vatican. Yeah, I think they are. But I think the Rothschilds are not as important. They're just like a front. The Rothschilds were the bankers for the Vatican. I think there's even bigger people we don't know about. Yvonne Nutter, Wow, read that it was abandoned. Uh, Lee Jenkins. Kennedy, yeah, the executive order about he printed some silver certificates. Yeah, some people think that was one of the reasons. I'm not too sure because that executive order was there already, and I think he reactivated it. But maybe. Um, Jet Shack, is any kind of precious metals confiscation a serious concern? And if so, what would the compliance rate actually be? I don't think confiscation is a concern right now because back in 1933, in the U.S., gold was money. And that's what people had as money. So, but nowadays, there's not many people who have gold. The way they confiscate gold now, well, they don't have to. The way they keep gold away from the public is all the denigration of gold bugs, all the manipulation, all the bad publicity about gold. So no, I don't think they will confiscate unless people start buying a lot of gold. But then it's going to be, yeah. At the moment, I don't see any. Rick H. The Internet of Things, smart meters, and 5G network will provide us with unimaginable new ways to tax the little people. Yeah, I mean, I've looked into the Internet of Things. I've done some videos about some blockchain projects about Internet of Things and 5G. It is scary. That's the thing about technology. It's very convenient, but at the same time, you lose a lot of freedom. Uh, it makes life a lot easier, but at the same time, yeah, you lose a lot of privacy and freedom. The UBI project is meant to be a short-term experiment to see how it turns out. Sammy, I don't think we need an experiment. We know it's not going to work. Mark Walsh, I doubt you have any issues with staying here, to be honest. I hope so. Uh, Licks 59, British Virgin Islands are a nice venue. Yeah, the thing about the offshore tax havens is that they're boring places to live. Do you really want to live in Antigua or no, British Virgin Islands or Turks and Caicos or Bermuda or Bahamas? I don't know. I mean, there are ways to keep your wealth there. You don't have to live there. You have to find a way where you can domicile yourself in a country and keep your funds, offshore. The problem with the offshore tax havens, it costs a lot of money to keep the lawyers, the companies, the shell companies, and the accountants. And only the very, very wealthy can really afford that. Eduardo Queiroz, you can come to Estoril in Portugal, the best place in the world to live. Opinion from a Carioca. Carioca is a person from Rio de Janeiro. They're called Cariocas. I was in Estoril many years ago when I was a little boy. My dad went sailing there. It's very nice. Yeah, I could go to Portugal with my Italian passport, and I speak the language as well. Nice F1 track. Well, hopefully there's a nice golf course. I'm more into golf than Formula One. uh, expect the unexplained wealth order, UWO confiscation. Yeah, Yvonne, it's a serious thing, I think. Um, they creep, these draconian laws creep. They give the excuse that it's for criminals, terrorists, and corrupt politicians, and then they use it for anyone. JM Carp 98, can you buy precious metals down in Brazil and other South American countries? Personally, I haven't, I haven't lived in Brazil for many years. And when I did live there, I wasn't, I was a boy. So I don't know, but I'm sure you can. What's going on here now? Sayan Kombarov. Hi, Manako. What do you think about safety of foreign sovereign gold stored in the UK? Kazakhstan moved some 100 tons of gold abroad. but the Kazakh National Bank doesn't disclose where it is. Uh, yeah, the thing, the people do trust the UK, the Bank of England, and the Fed in New York, but more and more countries in the last few years have been taking their gold back from the Bank of England. Venezuela took it about 6 years ago, and that was right around the time that gold went to 1900. Too bad that they really wasted that gold, the Venezuelans. Um, I don't know. I mean, personally, if I was the Kazakh National Bank, I would try to keep uh, my gold in Kazakhstan. Maybe a bit with other countries like China. I would trust China more than I would trust the UK. But it depends, what kind of trade Kazakhstan does. If they do a large trade with Russia and China, yeah, keep some gold in Moscow or in Beijing or Shanghai or Hong Kong. But I wouldn't keep it in the UK because they use that gold they lease it to manipulate the price lower. And the UK, don't forget, is an island, and there's an old saying that possession is 90% of the law. So they got their gold at Threadneedle Street. It's going to be really hard to get it. David Shinmaneko, have you read Jeremy Rifkin's Zero Marginal Society in Relation to Gold? No, I haven't. I haven't read that. Let's see. Paul Gerard, good day, Mario. I guess you might be in Australia, Paul. I can't read Russian. There's some Russian comments. It looks like the Russian alphabet. Top three countries in order of fiat collapse. Um, well, the biggest of them is the U.S. because it's the head of the snake of the fiat system, and then I guess would be Europe and maybe Japan. Tom Manley, are banks stacking physical gold? Um, you mean like commercial banks? I don't think so. Maybe, but the central banks are. But I've read that the commercials on the COMEX, they're covering a lot. They're shorts. There's an interesting story in kingworldnews.com this weekend about that. If you want to read into it, kingworldnews.com story about the commercials covering their shorts in gold. Um, Commons. So gold in the Royal Mint vaults, no good. Uh, no, I would rather buy the gold. I don't mind buying gold I bought gold from the Royal Mint, but I wouldn't keep it with them. I don't trust anything to do with the government, even the Royal Mint. And I know now that you can keep it with them. But if there was a crisis, a financial crisis, monetary crisis, and you called the Royal Mint and said, "Can you please send my gold?" They might not, because the UK government might sequester the gold from the Royal Mint. So no, I wouldn't keep it there. Uncle Deadly 75 Royal Mint gold storage. No way. Yeah, I agree with you, Uncle Deadly 75. Charlie Berlanger, your thoughts on universal income? Bad idea. That's my thought. UBI. I've said that before. Yeah, it won't work. It's like giving an allowance for your kids for the rest of their life. Do you think they grow up to be self-reliant, independent people? No. Um, what do you think about Martin Armstrong's opinion that the dollar will go up and gold down? Ma77XX. I really enjoyed reading Martin Armstrong when he was still in jail. I think it was in 2005, 6, 7. He used to ride out of jail. But since he's gotten out, I'm not too sure about him anymore. Um, I think the dollar could go up and gold go up as well. It did that in 2005 to 2007. So, but he could be right. But the thing is, dollar's gone up now and gold's gone down. But actually, in pound terms and in euro terms and in Swiss terms, the price of gold has done really well. So I wouldn't be concerned. The dollar is still uh, worth. Dollar is still just piece of paper, an empty promise. Gold is real still, so I wouldn't worry about that. Uh, Ignazi, what is your opinion on decentralized trading platforms? Any future for them versus big monopoly in the trading industry? Uh, yeah, I mean, I've used like Ether Delta. They're interesting, but yeah, I think we need to see how things progress. I think the more decentralized, the better, and you just need to be careful. You know, moving your assets around. I've had problems with Ether Delta, but that was probably my fault because I didn't know how to use it properly. But my advice is that you do a trade on Ether Delta and you get your funds, send them straight away as fast as possible to your private wallet. Paul Furtado, possible gold lose half its value. Uh, Half its value against what, Paul? Um, I mean, gold has held its purchasing power for thousands of years. Um, so I think it's a good store of wealth. Half its value, it has lost half its value against Bitcoin, I guess, or even more in the last year. Uh, see. BC Joey, hi Marius. Sorry I'm late. No, that's all right. Uh, I've been doing 47 minutes. I'll stay here more. Don't mind. Dr. O'Regan Metal. I hope the UK house prices to collapse. Well, if you look at what the pound, where the pound was in 2008, it was £1 was $2. Now it's 135. Yes, the in pound terms, the house prices have gone up, but in real terms, actually, UK house prices haven't done great. The problem is that wages uh, haven't kept up with the UK houses. So yeah, I wouldn't mind to see a collapse in UK house prices. I think they're still overvalued. John Middleton, do you think of the cell particles? Do you know of the cell particles in the stock market and atoms? No, I haven't heard that about that. Uh, Mark Walsh, EOS are promising the world but haven't delivered anything yet. Don't trust anything unproven. I don't agree with you, Mark, because the guy who created the EOS software or blockchain, he's already has a track record with BitShares and Steemit. And actually, EOS, there are loads of projects that are going to go mainnet after June 1st. So I I think you need to look more deeply into it, into EOS. Nuno Simons, your thoughts about the perspective of a world currency and negative interest rates on it? Would it bring society back to a barter system? How could you prevent people from bartering goods? Uh, yeah, someone asked me a question in one of my videos yesterday about a one world currency, if I was for that. Uh, not a fiat one world currency, because I think that would be total enslavement. But I think if we leave it to the market, free market, uh, gold will be at the top there. Could be Bitcoin, silver. There will be currencies that are accepted everywhere in the world. No, they can't prevent people from bartering. I know someone here in the UK. Um, he does my British gas engineer, and he he told me, "Oh, I went to get a haircut the other day," and and he said, "Free haircut," and I said, "How do you get free haircuts?" He said, "Well, I did a job for this barber with his boiler, and he's given me free haircuts for the next 2 years." So there is barter already. So there's nothing wrong with barter as long as you can match needs and what people need, and match people up. Jake Jones, hey Jake from Hong Kong. Uh, Good evening from Hong Kong, Jake. Let's see, Domingo. What happens when fiat dies? Will all hell break loose? Probably. uh, I think if it does happen, the world economy, everything, all the deliveries, all the shops, everything is run on a thin thread of credit. It will be, but hopefully, if it does happen, it will be mayhem and hell, but we'll be able to fix things up because it's just a human creation, money and credit and indirect exchange. The world itself, the houses, the fields, the farms, the people, the schools, the factories, they're always there. It's not easy. It's not hard to get it going again. But of course, people are going to lose confidence in the powers that be. It could, yeah. Zen cool. How come no follow up on CME and Reuters leaving on LBMA on 1st of Jan? Any updates? Well, the thing about the LBMA is just the CME and Reuters. They were in charge of running the fixing, but now they have someone else doing it. So it doesn't change anything. The LBMA is the London Bullion Market Association. The bullion banks are still operating. Don't think it has had much of an impact. Very opaque institution, the LBMA. They just contract things out. I think it's ICE who's doing that now, International Intercontinental Commodities Exchange. They're partly owned by Goldman Sachs. Roma Lawal, what is the best wallet to store EOS for a very long time, please, mate? I'm going to buy crypto for the first time. Well, EOS is a bit unusual in that right now it's still an ERC20 token or Ethereum. So the best place to store it right now is in your Ether wallet. But you do need to register with EOS because after June 1st, it's going to become an EOS token. It's not going to be ERC20 anymore. Um, we don't know yet which wallets they're going to use. There's going to be probably several wallets. So I don't know yet. So the thing for you to do if you're going to buy EOS before June 1st is to put it in your Ethereum wallet. Make sure you go into the EOS.io website and register your wallet where your EOS tokens are. So you get a private key and a public key, and that's the best way to hold it. And you will see after June 2nd which wallet is going to be the best. Because Block One, they're not producing any of these things for legal reasons. They're not creating the wallet. The community is creating the wallet. Yeah, hi Rick W. I also have a hardware wallet. I have a Trezor wallet. Yvonne Nutter advised me to get one, and it does cost a little bit, maybe $100 or something, maybe a bit more, but it's worth it. Random stuff, would silver be a credible barter tool? Definitely random stuff. David Shin, Maneko, what do you think the financial market collapse? Why do you think the financial market collapse not holding true yet when all of us laymen know it's coming? This is a core question we'd like to hear from you. Uh, well, I think with markets, things always go on for longer than people expect. It's like with cryptocurrencies when it corrected in December, January. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, now we're going back up," and I even said I think the correction is going to be run for a longer time, and um, it's a bit like during the Soviet Union as well. I think there's stories about people who used to go walk their dogs, in East Germany, and they knew that there's something wrong with the system, and there's no hope that communism would end. And then all of a sudden, it imploded. I think it's going to be the same way with this fiat money system. Um, but all we need to do is to be prepared for it, just go and then not be waiting for collapse, just live our own lives. We can't really, or else we go crazy just thinking, oh, is it going to collapse? That's the way I feel about it. I think the reason they've been able to keep it going for longer is that they threw everything at it because it was almost collapsing in '08. Um, so they've kind of destroyed a lot of the free market mechanisms, and that's why they've been able to keep it going for much longer. Nunya Business, Max Kaiser, the Kaiser Report has had EOS on yesterday. It was a splendid discussion. You might want to check it out. Yeah, I like Max Kaiser. I've been listening for Max and Wendy. No, what's her name? Max Kaiser, and I forgot his wife's name. But I even met Max Kaiser uh, about, I think it was 2009. I went to a gold conference in London, and he was there. So had a quick word with him. Let's see. Let's get someone who I haven't answered a question to. Eki Russia. For how long will the cabal kick the can down the road? Uh, well, how long is a piece of string? I don't know. I think it's getting closer and closer. Think they can. I think they can manipulate markets and the economy, but they can't change the cycles. So I think we're getting near the end of the cycle. So I don't think they're already losing control. In my opinion, the stock market is off the all-time high from January. Interest rates are starting to go up. So yeah, they're kind of losing control slowly. Yeah, Stacy Herbert. Yeah, she's. I think they. I think they got married. They weren't in the beginning. Yvonne. Yeah, I think Stacy and Max are together now. Not sure if they got legally married, but they're like common law husband and wife, I think. See, Dort, when will you give up on fiat money? Uh, I personally have given up on fiat money. The only reason I keep some of it is in the bank to pay the bills because we still have to use them. And I eat, and also if I go out in the street and buy something, I need to use fiat money. But I try to keep it, as little of it, stored as savings. Are stocks and bonds falling because there's less QE? Yeah, definitely. There's not even less QE. What they're doing now, is QT, which is quantitative tightening. So the Federal Reserve, and they're going to even make it even. It's going to start really big in October this year. The Federal Reserve is actually getting rid of its bonds. They're selling the bonds from their balance sheet. They're unwinding the QE. So that is definitely the reason why. Uh, they tried to say last year when they announced that they were going to do this, that it was going to be like watching paint dry, but I don't think so. They might even stop doing the QT if things get really bad, but then they'll lose all credibility and people will realize that there's no way out of all the money that they printed in the last 10 years. And I personally don't think there is a way out. David Barr, I see the US dollar rising as emerging markets dive. Yeah, it does make sense right now. That's what's happening. A lot of these emerging markets, they borrow in dollars, and if their currency starts going down, they have problems paying back their loans, and that usually happens. Is that because the dollar is such a great currency? No, because it's the only choice, and it's because the other ones are a lot worse. Lakes 59, listening to Max gives me a headache. Yeah, sometimes he can be a bit over the top, but he's generally quite a funny guy. Um, Tony Blaylock, what do you think about the royal wedding? Nothing, Tony. I tried, I was kind of annoyed that Google and YouTube are trying to push me to watch the royal wedding. I have nothing, against Prince Harry or his wife. I wish them all the happiness, but why should I be interested in it? If it was my family, someone in my family getting married, yeah, I would be really interested. But it's just another family. That's how I see it. But they make a big deal out of it here in the UK. It's part of the system, isn't it? Keep people happy. I think some people buy into it. Uh, Shikri Demo 1 Hyman Echo, retain cash ISA or reduce mortgage. Can't decide. We'll need a new mortgage early next year and worried about hitting high rates. Uh, yeah, I think it's always good to pay off your mortgage, but maybe take half of it and then pay off the mortgage with it. Don't take the whole cash. Maybe that's an option. Bill Wokey. Hi from Idaho. Hi, Bill. I've been watching them come in and buy and prop up US bonds. How can there be QT when there is so much buying, dark pools of money? Well, Bill, actually, the bond prices have been going down. So, and the yields have been going up. Of course, there's buying and selling going on, but the 10-year yield finished a 4.5-year high at 306. The thing to watch is the Fed's balance sheet. So, of course, there is a lot, and maybe the exchange stabilization fund could be going in there and trying to control the drop in the bond prices. But I think the Fed, unless they, and unless they're going to backtrack, I think they are getting rid of the bonds. Ton Manley, do you follow Gerald Celente? Oh yeah, definitely. I've been following him for years. My wife likes listening to him too, Gerald Celente. Um, Signs of the time. Good to see you, Mario. Good to see you, Signs of the time. B. Walsh, Japan's been doing Kiwi to infinity, yet moving right along. The system will always be patched. Well, there are consequences, though. I think the Japanese economy has been like in a basically stagnant for many years. Uh, they've saved the banks and the system at the expense of the economy. Patrick J. Again, my boring opinion, but the debt system we have is a Ponzi and must collapse. I couldn't agree more, Patrick. 100% agree. David Barr, are you investing to capture the rise in the US dollar now? How? Not really. I don't really care about the US dollar. So, no. Uh, the cabal mainstream is doing everything to draw attention away from the economy. A lava wedding, Ebola. Yeah, yeah. And David, the reason I don't care about the US dollar is because it's a fiat currency, and I don't think it's got much future. What we're seeing now is just a bounce, a dead cat bounce. Pablo, would you sell a second home in Spain and convert to gold? Uh, well, it depends on your circumstances. It depends on, I don't know, some European countries, they have rules about how much gold you can buy. So you'd have to check. But I, if you have a second home and it's paid for and you're even renting it, no, keep it. I would keep it. I'm not saying you have to have gold above everything. You have to have diversified assets. Who's buying the Fed assets during QT? Well, I would say it's probably the banks. The banks, they're buying some of it. Pension funds, other countries, but actually the prices have been going down. So it has had an impact. Bond prices have been going down. The 10-year yield has gone from just above 2% a year ago to over 3% this year. Johnny Ringo, morning, Johnny. Let's see, get someone else. Tom Manley has a question. He's asking, what do you think about Lynette Zhang's theory of that when LIBOR ends at the end of 2021, all hell is going to break loose? Uh, I don't think much of it. I don't think it's a smoking gun, like she says. Um, I think LIBOR is only a reference rate, and a lot of people, banks, institutions in London are starting to use other references. So I don't think it's gonna. It doesn't mean. I don't think it means much. It's just even the Federal Reserve of New York now and the U.S. banks and the Treasury, they're starting their own reference rate. So yeah, I don't think it will have much. It could have some kind of accidents because they're changing the reference rate, but I don't think it means that all hell is going to break loose. It could all hell could break loose even before 2021. Nasser Nassab, every currency is fiat. Yes, Nasser, all national currencies are fiat. And if any country try to move to a gold-backed currency, the United States would probably invade it. That's what Gaddafi was trying to do. He was trying to start an African gold system, monetary system. And look what happened to Gaddafi. Leaks 59. I think Zhang is a nutcase. No, I don't think she's a nutcase. I think she's very knowledgeable, but I think she's reading too much into the LIBOR thing. Sedona TV, low rates bankrupting pension funds. That's right. They are. Yeah, I remember when I got my private pension, like started out in the 90s, I was advised that I would have certain amount at the end when I retired, and I would be getting an 8% interest rate on my annuity. So much for that. Johnny Ringo, crypto is the revolution that will break the Fed. Well, yeah, that's possible, very possible, and it could be like a parallel system as well, and the Fed will just die out. That would be the best thing. Would you get APT? Would you get a second dog to keep Billy company? That's funny you ask that because my wife and I were talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and we called a breeder, and she's actually got two 3-week-old Shih Tzus, boys, but he's going to be 10 years old in July. He's playing right now. He's jumped off the sofa and he's playing with his toys. But yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. We're thinking about it. It would be nice. And we could have Billy and his, his brother doing the show. Kim Mac. Hi, Monaco. Love your video. Big fan from Indonesia. Your prediction, please. How will Fed raise rates till 2019? Because I live in emerging market country. I know something wrong with emerging markets. Yeah, it's having a big impact, the Fed raising rates on emerging markets. And it looks like they're going to continue to raise rates a few more times. I think they're looking to do another 2 or 3. Oh, Yvonne Nutter, please get one. Yeah, my wife was thinking of the name to like Buddy, Billy and Buddy. So maybe we'll go see him. I don't know. It's tempting. Yeah, Billy is a nice dog. He's really good. H. Zilla, can physical gold really be used for anything more than local transactions? How do you buy gas at the pump with gold? You must convert it first, and therein lies the trap and control. Well, the thing is, a sovereign, which is a quarter of an ounce, you only need like maybe a tenth of that to put some petrol in your car, put a quarter of a tank. So yeah, you're not going to take a Krugerrand to fill the tank, because that's 1,000 pounds. You can fill the tank with 60 pounds. So silver is changed. Yeah. Nunia business. Gaddafi was actually doing good for Libya. He has sustainable farms. I agree. Gaddafi. I think Libya had the highest income per capita of the whole of Africa. And I think, yeah, so I didn't agree with everything Gaddafi did, but it was doing well, the country. APT sounds like a YouTube channel, Billy and Buddy, or a sitcom. So I'm going to stop here, if you guys don't mind. It's been over an hour and 12 minutes. We've got 240 viewers. I think Sunday is a good day to do this. My wife is out as well. She's gone out for lunch with her friends. So Billy and I are on our own. So I really enjoyed this. And thanks for the participation and all the questions. And I hope I was able to answer all your questions to the best of my ability. So have a good rest of the weekend. And I'll talk to you, I'll be talking to you tomorrow with another video. Take care. Goodbye.